Okay, Jason. Appreciate it. It's good to have you all here. This is the December 14, 2021 meeting of the Hendersonville Board of Mayor and Aldermen. If you would, please join me and stand. We're going to begin as we typically do, and that's with a prayer and pledge. And we have a lot more to pray for on the positive and the negative side tonight. But especially we want to lift up a couple folks, but we also want to count our blessings as well. So please join me in prayer, and then we'll continue with the pledge. Dear Lord, thank you for bringing us together, and thank you for this opportunity to serve you. Thank you for the gifts, talents, and abilities that you have provided to us, and help us to use those tonight. Help us to use those as we go from here. Also, thank you for the people who have protected us, those that do that here and those that do it far away. Please help also to bring some peace to some folks and some healing to some folks, certainly the Pat Campbell family, Steve Luther, Steve Brown, Virginia Waters, and Joe Skidmore. But we also need to remember what's happened to our community in the past week. That in the middle of the night on December 11th, 2021, when a tornado hit Hendersonville. Of course, that seems like a tragic event, but we need to consider our blessings. Thank you for the middle of the night. That is when few cars are on the road and few people are outside. Thank you for the wind that miraculously pushed trees away from so many houses. Thank you for weather warnings. They enable people to take cover in their homes, avoiding major injuries. Thank you for the hundreds of volunteers. They saw a need and responded. Thank you for churches. They provided leadership, shelter, and prayer. Thank you for the safety of other communities. That allowed those communities to come to our aid. Thank you for lean weekends in our Parks Department. With few activities, our park staff helped with the cleanup. Thank you for fewer applications in our Codes Department. That freed up the staff to focus on the safety of houses damaged by the tornado. Thank you for cold weather. The colder weather decreases the demands on our public works staff, allowing them to fully focus on the cleanup. Thank you for safety from crime. With no need to chase bad guys, our officers were closing streets and steering people to safety. Thank you for our firefighters. They saved a life, and they protected all lives. Thank you for mobile phones. Those phones helped us to find loved ones and call for help. Thank you for our location. We are so close to other governments who continue to provide equipment and staff. Thank you for the opportunity to learn, to be a better community, to serve others, and to be better prepared for the next storms. Thank you for this season. Thank you for your son. And thank you for peace. Amen. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'm going to entertain a motion to accept our agenda. We have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Dixon. Alderman Peterson.
Yes, Mayor. I'd like to withdraw item number 4, Ordinance 2147, please.
You are the sole sponsor. That is done.
Thank you.
I need to also mention that I would like to remove item B, which is of the presentations. That's something we're going to need to do next month because of an illness with the person that was illness in the family of the person who's going to be here. And I also want you to acknowledge that we have 5 waivers of the 2-week rule that are already included on this agenda, were included in your packet. So I'm going to go ahead and make a motion that we eliminate item B under the presentations. Thank you. Alderman Cunningham is second. Why don't we go ahead and vote on that unless there's any objection to that? So we're going to vote now on removing item B under presentations. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to clarify, I just want to make sure that Resolution 2021-60, I'd like to add that to the agenda. I know we have it in our packet, but we're, as the Mayor just stated, bending the 2-week rule.
Yeah, okay. Okay, without objection, we're going to do that. Alderman Cunningham.
And I'd like to add Ordinance 2021-52 to the agenda as well,
Okay.
Which is the 2-week rule.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. Don't think that's necessary, but I'm glad you brought that to our attention. So without objection, we'll make sure that everybody understands that as well. So right now, we've acknowledged those 2 as well as the other 3 that are waiving the 2-week rule. We have removed item B under presentations. We have removed item 4 under ordinance and resolutions. And I believe that's everything we've done at this point with respect to the agenda. Any other questions or any other motions? All those in favor of the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. So a couple things we're going to do right here is I'm going to provide a proclamation, and then I've asked anybody in Pat Campbell's family that would like to speak. We'll stay here for midnight if they want to speak that long. I'd certainly like to hear from them, and I will certainly be here as long as they want to speak and tell us about Pat and about their family. And then we have a slideshow that Jason's going to run for us, and after that we're going to take a break. So let me read this, please. Whereas Pat Campbell was elected Alderman in 2014 to represent the citizens of Ward 2, and whereas Pat served as a coach and board member for several athletic organizations in Hendersonville, and whereas Pat served churches in Hendersonville for several years and in many capacities, whereas Pat served the residents of Ward 2 with intelligence and enthusiasm, there's no doubt about that, and whereas Pat Campbell has served as a member of the Public Works Committee, the Capital Projects Committee, the Nonprofit Contributions Committee, the Municipal Board of Zoning Appeals, and as chairman of the Public Safety Committee, and whereas Pat passed away November 16, 2021, leaving behind a loving family that includes his mother, Mary Jane Campbell, wife, Lori, children, grandchildren, sisters, nieces, and nephews. Now, therefore, I, Jamie Clary, Mayor of the City of Hendersonville, by the authority vested in me as mayor, and on behalf of the entire board of Mayor and Aldermen, do formally proclaim our gratitude and appreciation, and I urge all citizens of Hendersonville to join us in remembering Pat Campbell for his dedicated service to all the residents of our community. This is Lori and her 2 children, so go ahead.
Hello. Wrote something down for us. I'm Danielle, I'm Pat's daughter. On behalf of my mom and us and everyone over here, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. The outpouring of love and support has been second to none. The Hendersonville community is like nothing else. You always pull together, and it's a beautiful thing. My dad proudly served Hendersonville. He loved his city through and through. He only ever wanted what was best for his community. I hope the people of this board serve as wholeheartedly as he did, with integrity and respect for one another. Communicate openly and honestly. Agree to disagree, and most of all, always respect one another. To the people of Hendersonville, thank you for trusting my dad to serve as Alderman for Ward 2. The sentiments we've heard from everyone has just been a beautiful thing. My dad did much more than we even knew about, or, just hearing everyone speak just spoke volumes of my dad that I already knew personally because he's my dad. Greatest dad ever, but just hearing it from everyone else, it's just a beautiful thing. As we're celebrating the many different holidays and Christmas, just remember to hold your loved ones near and dear. Cherish memories that are made, and never miss an opportunity to tell your loved ones you love them. As my dad would always say, we're never promised tomorrow. Thank you again. Merry Christmas, and may God bless you all.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Jesse, can you hit that light? Jesse, can you hit that light? call anything else on the agenda for about 10 minutes. Next item on our agenda is a public hearing. We have 3 public hearings, then we have citizen comments. A couple weeks ago, we adopted some rules for public hearings. They match what we have followed for citizen comments and continue to follow for citizen comments. That is that speakers must identify themselves by name and address. Public comment shall be limited to 5 minutes per individual, which time is not transferable to other speakers. All comments are to be directed to the presiding officer, not to the alderman, city staff, or other members of the public. Comments must address issues, not individuals or personalities. Personal attacks shall not be tolerated. Comments may support or oppose particular issues or measures, but the motives of those with differing views shall not be questioned or attacked. Malicious comments will not be allowed. Speeches for or against particular candidates running for public office shall not be allowed. Those are the rules we have for citizen comments as well as for the public hearing. First public hearing we have on our agenda is for Ordinance 2021-45. This is to hear comments on a request by Jared Crane to annex and to rezone .89 acres to heavy commercial. We have nobody signed up for that one, so we'll move on to the next one. The next one is a public hearing for Ordinance 2021-46. This is to hear comments on a request by Stonecutter Capital Management, LLC, to rezone 47.2 acres from industrial and suburban residential medium density, from industrial and suburban residential medium density to industrial plan development, and to approve a comprehensive development plan called Music City Studios to govern that property. We have nobody signed up for that public hearing. Next, we have a public hearing for Ordinance 2021-47. This is to hear comments on a request by GAED Properties to rezone property from general commercial to multifamily residential plan development and to approve a preliminary development plan called Nearwater Place to govern that property. As we mentioned earlier when we set the agenda, that item has been removed from the agenda. I am very happy to welcome the person who signed up to allow him to speak. However, we will also continue the public hearing when this item comes back on the agenda. So we will have a public hearing when it comes back to the agenda as well. So we have Stephen Puckett of Sanders Ferry Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I understand these things do happen with public hearings. The reason why I'm here and speaking on this particular matter is that during your discussion of this particular development, Alderman Campbell made the request that someone come up here and explain why we should not be obsessing on terms like rentals, apartments, low income, things like that, things that have been discussed with this development. And the reason why, Mr. Bradley kind of gave a quick summary, but the reason why is because the courts are very concerned about terms like what they call court-proven discriminatory language. This comes out of the anti-redlining precedents that unfortunately, racists kind of ruined things in that they started using coded language to hide what, their discriminatory intent. And so one of the things, and it really applies to not just the board, but also citizens as well, because at the end of the day, you're not the final stop for these developments. It's the courts. And so we have to, when we bring up an issue or a concern like crime or anything that could be perceived as a stereotype, we have to have evidence, demonstrable evidence, because it's because of that history that most people may not even know about. We have to have that demonstrable evidence to be able to go to the court and say, not only is this, not only are we not being discriminatory, but we can prove that there is actual harm, there's actual injury. And then thankfully, that CRT training that our lawyers and our judges have to go through requires them to recognize, to not just simply dismiss these people as being discriminatory, but to have that higher level of scrutiny. So that helps us a little bit. With that said, I'm going to quickly cover the best practices for raising concerns about a development like this. The first one is to offer a better deal. We did that with Beatty Farm. We also did that with Saunders Ferry. Unfortunately, Mr. Luckfree chose not to take the deal with Saunders Ferry. And a better deal is equal or greater profitability to the developer. The second best practice is to be specific about concerns, and have that demonstrable evidence of that development within a similar development within a similar community, so you can have that evidence. In fact, one of my favorite things to do is watch Mr. Bradley when citizens are up here discussing, because when he hardly can put his pen down, that's usually a good sign. And which is why I'm so proud of my Saunders Ferry folks, because he could hardly put his pen down. And then the third thing is to remember you're always talking to the courts at the end of the day, you know, and so you don't want to just use generics. You don't want to especially obsess about terms like rentals, vacation rentals, anything that could suggest discriminatory intent, and instead be specific with issues. Now, that being said, I do have a couple of questions for this development that the developers, when they do have the opportunity to be here, can address, as well as Keith, and that is the economic history. You know, why is there, you know, what other better deals were rejected because of the nature of the property? That helps folks at home better understand why this place, you know, just like with the apartments you approved previously, why this place. The second question is is one I never thought I would have to ask on a development, but is mitigation against residents using the on-ramp as their personal firing range. Unfortunately, our state, as it's
Stephen, 30 seconds.
been deregulating, has now raised that question. And the final is mitigation in the building structure against the rumble of Jake breaks and 5-block rap studios, because nothing's louder than a tornado siren than a 1-year-old that's been shipped away.
Stephen, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I'm going to entertain a motion to approve the minutes from November 9th, 2021. I have a motion from Alderman Waters and a second from Alderman Hayes. Any discussion on that? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Now we have approval of the minutes from November 30th, 2021. A motion from Alderman Hayes and a second from Alderman Edwards. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we're on citizen comments. Andy Bolt, Hedgelon Drive.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Board, for letting me speak just a few minutes on Pat Campbell. I thought that might be appropriate, and I appreciate what you guys did today. I thought I'd do really well till that video, and then I watched Jonathan, so that was pretty tough during that whole thing. But I would like to say a few things about him. I haven't known him nearly as long as some of you. I've known him only about 7 years. And when I joined the Zoning and Appeals Committee back 7 years ago, probably, he was the liaison for the committee there. And what struck me about Pat was he was always upbeat. He was always smiling. He was always in a good mood. He's always talking about his family, talking about his parents. Great at service. He really cared about the community. Just a very positive, upbeat kind of person. When I got appointed 3 years ago, and people always let me know that I wasn't elected, but if you're not elected and didn't run, you know, you don't know anything. So I had to rely on a couple of people, 2 colleagues specifically for information. One of them was Pat Campbell. It's a tremendous help to me and had an impact on me for sure. Pat was an alderman for all the right reasons. He was here his whole life. His family was here. He had a multitude of friends, still does, and acquaintances. A true servant. He truly cared about the community. Sorry, I'm not falling apart. Just lost my spot here. So, he was a wonderful family man, as you could see here. A multitude of people here. I've gotten to know a number of them through various things. If you were at the funeral, you could tell how the love that his family showed. How Jordan and Danielle were able to get up there and say what they did, I don't know. The letter read by Chief Bush from Lori was truly amazing. He spoke about his granddaughter all the time. Most of his social media posts were about his family. He's got a big personality. He was the center of that extended family. People cared about him deeply. He looked after his parents, and after his dad passed away a few years ago, he started looking after his mom, and quite the doting son. Another alderman who posted something about Pat, who doesn't always agree with Pat for sure, said something of Pat as a man of great courage, unwavering convictions, a man of strong faith, never had to worry about his motivation or his integrity, a tireless servant for the people of Hendersonville. No truer words have ever been said. After I left BOMA, Pat and I remained friends. I've hunted on his property off and on for years, and many a day he'd text me and say, hey, it'd be a good time to be in the woods. Many times I was in his woods, hunting away. So we talked or texted almost every day. He'd like to send me TikTok videos, many times of deer chasing another deer, usually in the prime of rut season. He'd also, he'd call pretty often, and some of you know this. He'd call and he said, hey, look, I'm just calling to check on you, see how you're doing. Never a long phone call. He'd just call, check, see how you were doing. And we talked for a few minutes, and then when he was ready to be done, he'd say, well, I was calling to check on you. You have a good day. And then he was gone. So Pat's going to be sorely missed by his friends and his family, and he's really going to be missed by the citizens of Hendersonville because they don't know what they're missing, and he's going to be a hard man to replace. Pat, I can just say Pat was a very decent, good person. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you, Andy. We don't have a consent agenda. We have second and final reading of Ordinance 2021-45. This is an ordinance rezoning .89 acres at 1200 Avondale Road, east of Saundersville Road, and on the south side of Avondale Road in Hendersonville. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second from Alderman Waters. All those in favor of second and final reading of Ordinance 2021-45, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have Resolution 2021-54. This is a resolution to annex certain territory upon written consent of the owners and to incorporate that property located at 1200 Avondale Road, east of Saundersville Road, and on the south side of Avondale Road in Hendersonville. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson, a second from Alderman Waters. Any discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2021-54, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have second and final reading of Ordinance 2021-46. This is an ordinance rezoning 47.2 acres located west of Free Hill Road and on the north side of Forest Retreat Road, and approving the Music City Studios comprehensive development plan to govern the development of that property. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson, a second from Alderman Cunningham. I heard her first because she's closer. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of approving second and final reading of ordinance, oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Cunningham. I apologize for that.
That's right. Thank you, Mayor. I would just like to, to take this opportunity to welcome Music City Studios to the city of Hendersonville. We are so beyond thrilled to have you in our community. And thank you for considering Hendersonville to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Cunningham. Any other discussion? All those in favor of second and final reading of Ordinance 2021-46, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. The next item has been removed by the sponsor. It's been withdrawn, I should say, from Alderman Peterson. And then we have first reading of Ordinance 2021-44. This is an ordinance rezoning 6.93 acres located west of Longview Drive and on the south side of Long Hollow Pike in Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee, as included in the approved Durham Farms Phase 4 Final Development Plan. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson and a second from Alderman Dixon. Alderman Robertson.
I'd like to ask permission to suspend the rules. I have a question to ask Mr. Charles from the Development Company.
Without objection, we're going to suspend the rules to hear from the developer. If you could introduce yourself and tell us what your connection is. You have no obligation to answer questions, but Alderman Robertson is going to give you a couple if you want to. Alderman Robertson.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Charles. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
Hope your dad's doing well.
He is, thank you.
Okay.
Do you guys want me, I had a whole spiel. My name is Bill Charles. I'm with Land Management Group, Inc. I'm here representing Freehold Communities tonight, and my current location is 101 Maple Drive, Hendersonville, Tennessee.
Nice work. No, that's right here. You don't live here.
Well, no, but that was my location.
Okay.
You didn't say where I lived.
Well,
I'm sorry. I've been preparing all afternoon for that.
He may not live in this area, but he's here all the time, I know.
I'm a
So
fixture of this place.
I have a question that a county commissioner asked me that represents this area that's about to be annexed. And I think I know the answer. I've read the staff reports, but I just want to get it on the record.
Yes, sir.
So what does Durham Farms intend to use this land for that you're asking to be rezoned?
It's a good question, Eddie, and Alderman Eddie, and I understand why you're asking the question. It makes sense. When the city asked us to annex this 6.9 acres into the city, it was to try to clean up and try to get everything organized. Our land plan and our intent for that 6.9 acres is what it's always been. It's in open space. There's no other intentions for that property as it stands today. And just to make sure, because I have been asked this question, if we had maybe future intent for this 6.9 acres, if in the event that years down the road somebody wanted to come back and ask for something to happen, which would not be me, but if somebody did come back and ask for something on that property to happen, they would have to come and ask for complete board approval for any changes. But as it stands today, there has been no discussions internally with Freehold or with myself about changing this and doing something alternative to this property other than simply putting the road through as what we were approved under back in 2013. That is the only reason why we're asking for this to happen, which kind of brings up another point. We actually, I was adding it up earlier, we've been coming in front of this board, Eddie, for 9 years. And this is the last piece. Connecting this road to Long Hollow Pike is the last piece of the puzzle.
Well, I hope this isn't the last time that you come before us. That sounds pretty final. Thank you, Mr. Charles. Now I have a question, Mayor, if it's okay for Ms. Locke, city staff.
Go ahead.
And as you're coming, Ms. Locke, I just want you to explain what road improvements are going to be made as a result, because some of the people that living out there that had contacted the county commissioners afraid of the traffic. So
Okay.
can you just briefly, for the record, explain, and it's in the documents, but for people that may be watching.
Certainly. With that connection, Durham Farms will be adding turn lanes on Long Hollow Pike. So they will add a right turn lane and a left turn lane into Durham, and the widening and improvements associated with that. Additionally, the city is in discussions with the state to add a temporary traffic signal there. We've had our on-call traffic engineer do a warrant analysis with projected volumes indicated based on their approved plans. And so we will be adding, with their approval, a temporary traffic signal there in coordination with that connection.
And I get a lot of complaints, as Alderman Waters does too, about speeding in Durham Farms. So once this road is connected, we don't want it to turn into a racetrack from Drake's Creek to Long Hollow. So any plans to try to, I guess the speed limit will be what, 25?
Yes, it will be signed as 25. I believe it's possible closer to the connection with Long Hollow because there will not be any homes fronting on that stretch, and the characteristics of the roadway will be different. It's possible that may be signed at 30, maximum 35, but it's just because of the change of characteristics and driver expectancy. As far as being a drag strip or that connection being made. It was always planned to be a major collector. And so unfortunately, that's a side effect of making that connection and making it a major collector. We will do what we can to calm traffic and manage those speeds, but it's part of the package.
Thank you. That's all, Mayor.
Alderman Edwards, thank you. Sarah, thank you. I'm sorry. Alderman Robertson, thank you. All those in favor of ordinance 2021-44, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have Resolution 2021-51. This is a resolution to call for a public hearing on the proposed annexation of territory into the city of Hendersonville by owner consent and to approve a plan of services for the same property. This is the property that we just discussed, west of Longview Drive and on the south side of Long Hollow Pike in Hendersonville, Sumner County, Tennessee, as included in the approved Durham Farms Phase 4 Final Development Plan. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
Motion from Alderman Peterson, a second from Alderman Waters. Any discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2021-51, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have a first reading of Ordinance 2021-52. This is an ordinance appropriating funds for professional services to assist the city with the administration of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds established under the American Rescue Act. I so move. Second. A second from Alderman Hayes. Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. We are going to allocate $75,000 for the administrational review of that?
That's
Up
what
to 75?
Yeah, that's what we're going to do. This was discussed early in Finance Committee, and we went through some of the details of it. The alternative is that that money would come from the general fund, or we wouldn't hire that person, and we think it's definitely worthwhile to hire that person and use ARPA money.
Okay. Do we know who we're hiring?
I'll have Jesse come up and explain that.
Thank you. We issued a request for proposal, so it went out for public bid. We received 6 firms, and we've ranked them, and we selected the top-ranked firm based on qualifications. We negotiated the price, which they've accepted, and so we've executed an engagement letter with them. The company name is CLA LLP.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of first reading of Ordinance 2021-52, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have Resolution 2021-56. This is a resolution authorizing the city to join the state of Tennessee and other local governments as participants in the Tennessee State Subdivision Opioid Abatement Agreement and approving the related settlement agreements. I so move. I have a motion and a second from Alderman Hayes. Alderman Peterson.
Yes, Mayor. I will have to abstain from this because I am currently building 3 recovery centers in the state for substance abuse, so I don't want that to look like a conflict of interest.
Alderman Peterson, if you don't mind, if I could ask, you are not individually building these. This is your employer.
This is through my employer, the state of Tennessee. I'm just happen to manage these 3 projects.
Okay. Thank you for that explanation. Alderman Collins. I'm sorry, Alderman Dixon.
She's not even here.
I'm looking at everybody wrong.
Thank you, Mayor. I as well will have to abstain on this resolution due to past consulting adjacency work with some of the companies involved and any possible future work. So I will be abstaining. It's the best thing for the city.
Alderman Dixon, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2021-56, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. And we have 2 abstentions. That's Alderman Dixon and Alderman Peterson. Did I have that correct?
Yes.
Thank you all. Now we have Resolution 2021-58. This is a resolution of the City of Hendersonville in Sumner County, Tennessee, requesting the Commissioner of the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development and/or the Local Government and Advisory Committee to deactivate the Regional Planning Authority for the Hendersonville Regional Planning Commission and dissolve the Hendersonville Planning Region. Alderman Peterson.
Yes, Mayor. I would like.
Thank you, Alderman Petrelli. Thank you.
Thank you.
And a second from Alderman Edwards. Go ahead, Alderman Peterson.
I'm sorry.
You're fine.
Yes, I would like to abstain because my employer is Economic and Community Development, so I don't want that to appear as a conflict of interest. And also, if we may suspend the rules for Director Ferry
We don't have to suspend the rules to hear from him?
to inform the board if they choose
Okay.
to get a better understanding what this plan is.
We can do that, but I guarantee after the conversation in the general committee, a better understanding may not be
Right.
possible for me or anybody else. Let's go to Alderman Dixon. Do you have anything?
Oh, no.
Okay. You're fine, okay. We'll go to Alderman Skidmore.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'm sure inquiring minds want to know on this board, what in the world does that mean? Does
You
that mean
asked.
we're dismissing the planning commission or what?
Yeah, no, the planning commission is still being intact.
I
It'll
know
just
that's by
be-
statute, but
Yeah, it'd be a little bit different. What this is, and it is quite confusing, is up until a year or so ago, we had the planning region, and so within the planning region, we had subdivision ordinance control out there in the planning region, as well as full zoning authority. So basically, in regards to planning and development, we had full authority within the planning region, even though that's just outside the city limits. But the county went through the process to take back zoning authority within that area. So our zoning ordinance has no effect within that area. It's fully within the county zoning ordinance. But technically, we still have our subdivision ordinance is still in effect within that area. So basically, things could still go technically through our development process of approving plats, but it's based on whatever the county zoning is. So it creates, as you can imagine, as I'm talking about it, it's kind of confusing. And this creates a very difficult situation for staff. It creates a very difficult situation for applicants. So all the other cities in Sumner County have either already opted out of the planning region or in the process as we are to do that, to remove that. So that's kind of a brief explanation of that. And then technically, we would no longer be the the Hendersonville Regional Planning Commission. We would just be the Hendersonville Planning Commission, just a municipal planning commission, which is basically, it's close to the same thing, but we just wouldn't have anything within the region. And so what this does is it allows within that area of the planning region, once we dissolve it, then what's in the county, the county takes care of all of that from a planning perspective. And what's in the city, that's just totally what we take care of here in the city. And we don't have that confusion. And this was years ago when the city, not just Hendersonville, but cities in Tennessee, had a wide range of ability to annex property and could do that, at will for the most part years ago. And so when all of that was occurring, that's when all these planning regions and the thing we're going to talk about next, urban growth boundaries, that's when all those things were set up. But the reality now is that very rarely will developed areas or residential areas that are already developed, very rarely would such an area seek annexation into the city. And so that's kind of how some of these things were set up years ago. But certainly it's something we need to dissolve it, and it will be better for us to do so.
okay, so is this a statewide mandate that the state of Tennessee is requesting on behalf of all municipalities within the county? Not only Sumner, but everywhere?
No, this just derived from an action that Sumner County took to take the zoning back over. So it's not anything like the state mandated that we had to have it or Sumner County had to dissolve it or take it back over. But Sumner County has, and it's within their authority to do so, is take back that zoning authority. But that's an action that they initiated and took.
Okay, how long ago did this happen, and do you know who the sponsors of the ordinances up there that that did this. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Because the reason why that I say this, it's not for anything, I mean, I feel uncomfortable about it because
Yeah.
our codes are a lot more stringent. And our ordinances are a lot more
Right.
stringent when it comes to building and
Right.
things of that nature within the city as opposed to any of the counties.
Right. And that
So-
was, I believe it was finalized in July 2021 when they updated their zoning ordinance, and
Right.
they took back and asserted that control. So, currently, because of the action the county has, even though we do have more stringent in a lot of cases, our zoning ordinance is more restrictive.
Sure it is.
It has zero effect currently with the current makeup of the planning region, because we have no authority with our zoning ordinance.
I understand that. Thanks.
Thank you. And our subdivision regulations are fairly similar to the county, not a whole lot of differences overall.
All right, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman
Thank you, Mayor.
Skidmore. Thank you. Any other discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I'm new and I didn't sign up, but I'd like to speak if I could.
Give us a second.
Sure.
Tell us your name.
My name's Bobby Cox. My son retired from the Marine Corps after 20 years and a single dad with a 5 and 6-year-old. So
Did-
I've been here since June, driving him to school in the morning. And
Did you want to speak
picking
on
him
this,
up.
did you want to speak on this item?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So a motion to suspend the rules from Alderman Robertson.
Sure, that's citizens.
Okay. And a second from Alderman Hayes. All those in favor of suspending the rules to hear from Mr. Cox, please signify. Did you want a discussion? Go ahead, Russ.
Can he be under the same rules as the regular citizens' comments that you previously announced?
The motion, the person who made the motion and the second agree with that. Any other discussion? All those in favor of allowing Mr. Cox to speak is suspending the rules to allow him to speak, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Mr. Cox, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much.
I think that you need to make sure that you're talking on this specific item, okay?
Yeah, I certainly
Okay,
will. I
thank
was
you.
hoping I could bring a little clarity.
Please.
First of all, I'm from California, and I just promised I didn't bring any of that baloney with me. But I do bring a lot of information. I do some consulting back there politically. And for me to come from California to Tennessee, I've run into a lot of California, and it has to do with what we talked. I got to talk to you a little bit ago. In Rancho Santa Margarita, California, in 2008, our mayor asked for clarification on AB 32 and SB 375, which is global warming, and AB 32 is the rules that bind that. And what the mayor said was, because I want some clarity, because we lose all land use authority to a regional board and other entities. And that's what you have here. And so when did this begin? Here it began in 2010. I don't want to see Hendersonville turned into California. I've enjoyed being here so much. You let me speak. My son moved here because he got a flat tire in 2006, and 6 people came out to help him out with it. And he said, I'll live here someday. If you look, you guys, we said the Pledge of Allegiance, we prayed. We don't do that in Southern California. We do the Pledge of Allegiance real quick, but not praying. And I don't want to see that go away. That was awesome. But there's this term sustainable development, and it's United Nations. It's a non-binding rule and law upon it goes throughout the entire country. And here you have in Sumner County, you have this big elephant in the room right now. And it starts off sustainable development, and then it turns into smart growth. And then they have to keep shifting those terms, and they shifted the term to comprehensive planning. And here in Sumner County, I don't know, I mean, everybody here needs to know that the Sumner County comprehensive plan from 2010 through 2030 is written out. And you have to obey that, do you not, the comprehensive plan? Because a comprehensive plan is completely based off this theory of global warming. And this guy's, Michael Briggs, he's the big transportation planner now out of Nashville. And as well as this gentleman up in Portland, his name is Luther Bratton, and I don't know who he is, but these two guys were the main guys that signed off on that. And I know he's the Sumner County Planning Commissioner, and I've tried to get a hold of him. I tried to look into what he does up there, and he's got like 8 different businesses running out of his same address. But in this comprehensive plan for global warming, like they said, it's a regional board and other entities. And the best example I could give you of another entity that you guys should be really leery of would be the American Planning Association. They'll tell you that they've been around since 1890 or whatever.
Mr. Cox, we need to stick on this one item, okay?
This is what I was trying to say, what's going on here, because you're talking about this, losing this control. I'm trying to ask, I'm trying to look, because you can't deny this is, you guys are within this planning of Sumner County. So how do you plan around it? So now what you're seeing is this exact plan that's going up. You're seeing all these condos going up. You're seeing all this stuff because to fight global warming. And that's what's happening here. And I hate to see it. But you have to ask yourself, and the people need to know, read it. Read the comprehensive plan for Sumner County. It's based off of global warming. And so when you get the American Planning Association, these guys, I listened to Franklin. These guys do, they do training, right?
Mr. Cox,
and you got to get
30
your
seconds.
AIPC certification, right? And you got to have your AIP certification really to do a lot of business. But that's what he was talking about earlier, this redlining and stuff. This is all about not equality. This is all about building equitable communities, lifting up those here in Hendersonville that over the years you've oppressed through your racist ways. Their words, not mine. Their words, not mine. This redlining thing that they talk about, it's baloney. We didn't build highways throughout the United States. Eisenhower in '58 didn't build racist highways. He built highways so we could get across the country, become economic, and economic prosperity just took off. But right now with this Sumner County and this global warming, this is about control. This is about putting control upon you guys.
Mr. Cox, thank you. Thank you. That was 5 minutes. Thank you. No, you're finished. You're finished. Keith, can you join us again? Any Alderman Waters?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to ask Keith to come back and sort of rebuttal what we've just heard and give us your opinion and your facts on it, since you're our planning director, okay?
Yeah, I don't think I really have a rebuttal for that. I can say that the authority within the planning region is clearly been asserted by the county, and they have that authority to take the zoning, and the zoning is the real control. And there's nothing that we're ceding to the county within our boundaries of what we have the full authority to. So there's nothing in this or the other thing we're going to talk about after this, nothing we're ceding control to the county or anybody else for things that are within our current city limits.
Keith, thank you. Alderman Waters, any more questions? Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2021-58, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. And we have one abstention. Am I correct on that?
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, thank you. That passes unanimously with one abstention. Next, we have Resolution 2021-59. This is a resolution to ratify proposed amendments to the Sumner County Comprehensive Growth Plan and to forward that plan to the Local Government Planning Advisory Committee. Alderman Peterson.
So moved.
We have a motion from Alderman Peterson and a second from Alderman Cunningham. Alderman Skidmore.
Thank you. And again, Keith, if you could approach, what does that exactly mean?
This is relating to the urban growth boundary.
Mm-hmm.
That's tied to years ago when cities could annex kind of at will. Basically what it is, the urban growth boundary, our urban growth boundary, I think, is about 12 square miles. It's the areas in which we can annex in the future. Of course, as we know, as we all understand, we can't annex anything without actually being somebody requesting to be that. So we can't forcibly annex property. But what the urban growth boundary does is outside of our city limits, it defines the area where if, thinking about where we could grow into the future. Of course, a lot of the areas that we have in our urban growth boundary, a lot of that is to the north, and a lot of that's actually already somewhat developed, so there's not a whole lot within there for the future, but it defines that. And basically what the urban growth boundaries do for the communities in Sumner County, it's kind of like a fence, and it makes good neighbors. And so basically it draws a line and says, hey, this area or this parcel of property where this is located, Goodlettsville can annex it, but Hendersonville can't. Same thing with Gallatin, that Hendersonville can annex this property, but Gallatin can't annex that property. So it kind of keeps cities reign within a certain area. That image right there kind of shows the proposed growth, planned growth areas, and that's just areas where cities can expand.
Right.
And it makes it, and kind of what it does, it makes it where Westmoreland, that's all the way up there to the top, which has a considerable urban growth boundary to it, the yellow area up there to the top, I believe it's within somewhere within that. So it keeps some place like that from annexing all the way down to Gallatin or all the way down to Hendersonville. And so that's kind of what the urban growth boundary, it doesn't mean much. It's just kind of a boundary. With the changes that we made were very subtle changes. There was that one change that, remember a couple of years ago, the deal that we had with Goodlettsville off of Long Hollow Pike. We kind of gave that up, and we got a first right of refusal for that property over off Rockland Road. Right. There was that. And then we had a few little changes with the property that we de-annexed on Big Station Camp and kind of cleaned some things up there. And then we added just a little bit where that we went on a part of this. We went up to, can you go to maybe the next couple of maps? And I want to show that. See this area right here? That's, right there. Yeah, see that light blue area that comes into there? Right. We're just adding that so that we're going all the way to Long Hollow Pike at that part. And you can see, go back to the before and then do it again, and see the pinkish area up there? That's
Right.
where Gallatin has expanded their urban growth boundary. And so that's kind of what the urban growth boundary is, and I can answer any more questions if anybody had any on that.
Well, I just want to follow up on that. So our urban growth boundary, you're telling me that our urban growth boundary has not changed. It's still 12 miles out, is that right?
Yeah, it's just those minor changes, but nothing substantial. So whatever the area that we could, other than those few kind of little changes, if it was an area we could have annexed 3 years ago, we could still annex those areas. Other than that deal that we have with Goodlettsville, and then the cleanup that we had over there off of Big Station and within that area, just some small little things.
Okay, and my final question is this, is if that's the facts, which I certainly believe that's the case here, why are we even having a resolution to bring before this board? Who actually brought this and why? If there's no change, I don't
No,
really.
all of those changes that are in your packet, those are all the changes for us that are in there. Kind of go back and forth on that.
Okay, did the county, was this another issue that the county pushed, or?
This was something, this is something that's been an issue as Gallatin and Hendersonville have grown.
Mhm.
We've kind of grown into right up against each other's urban growth boundaries.
Right.
And there need to be better definition.
I see, okay.
This hadn't been done since 2000, and this has been something really for the last 3 years that
We just need to kind of clean it up, is what it is.
it's just a clean up.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Skidmore, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
Yeah, I wasn't going to ask any questions, but I saw a map, not this one, but the map that showed, yes, go back one. So that right there.
Yes, sir.
So we're extending to Long Hollow. But
Yes.
it seems like Gallatin is significantly increasing. So why didn't we kind of split the baby there and us take a little more of that area that could possibly be annexed by Hendersonville if need be? You see what I'm asking?
Yeah.
I mean, we're getting that much and they're getting this
Right.
much.
You know,
So-
Yeah.
Is that a negotiation process with the planning
just-
directors, or what?
We did also add some down on Saundersville Road.
Yeah.
Gallatin didn't necessarily give that up.
Yeah.
But we added a significant portion down Saundersville Road.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah, and looking at it, if we went north of there, then it probably would have triggered some more significant change, and really we would have need to look at how would we service that area in the next 20 years if we annexed it. And to be honest with you, it's so far out there, from the planning staff's perspective, that was probably beyond where Hendersonville would extend to. And then originally, that area in the kind of darker pink that Gallatin's going to, that area is actually where the new Liberty School campus is located. And so they have worked with the county to extend upon that. So we were never really looking to go, beyond Long Hollow.
The reason I bring this up is, as we all know, we're running out of land. Hendersonville's running out of land. So anywhere we can have the possibility of annexation, I don't want to give that up. I want to maintain our options.
Yes.
So if another Music City studio wants to come, we got some possible land up here, so.
Yeah, and now within that specific area where Gallatin's going, that wasn't our area, and so we weren't out there already and then split it, so we weren't out that far.
Was it their area before?
No, it was just
So
in the
it was
county.
just, okay.
It was just out in the county. But with that, as we're looking at the urban growth boundary, or even within that urban growth boundary, where we as a city over the next 10 to 15, 20 years, where we may want to extend to, there's a line when we get so far out as we look at our services, there's that thing, and it's real confusing, but the whole plan of services that you see we do when we do annexations, most all the recent ones we've done, they've been annexations that were right on the edge of where we really already had service, so it really wasn't us providing any additional service.
Hey, Keith.
But yes.
Let me interrupt you. I want you to continue, but I think it would be a helpful map of showing Hendersonville. There's a map of Hendersonville city limits, and then that map also includes a different shading for the urban growth boundary.
Let's see if we have that.
Oh, I think you passed, Jason.
Yeah, that purple in the bottom. Is there any way to zoom in on that, Jason? I don't know that there is. Let's see if there is.
If there is.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, so the dark blue areas are our urban growth boundary. So as you can see, we have quite a bit that we could annex. I mean, if we were invited to do so. We actually have a whole peninsula over there to the east that actually we could. But with all of those things, once we get beyond a certain line, then we have to ask the question, and when we look at this plan of services, gosh, could we really provide services there? Or does it mean we need more policemen, or do we need another fire station to service that area? And that's kind of the things that kind of drive us, because you got to be careful on how far we do go out and not extend our services so far that then, we have to create a bunch of new city employees and services, to go out that far. But this area that we have, I'm very comfortable that the area that we've had for our urban growth boundary, very comfortable that, that's plenty for us to grow into. But understanding that a lot of that blue area already has houses on acre or 5-acre lots that, the opportunity for, that to redevelop is low unless somebody can put a bunch of parcels together. So it is, we are, and Alderman Roberson is correct, we are running out of land within the city. So there will be a day when the amount of green space for us to develop, will be very minimum.
Keith, thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank
Alderman
you.
Robertson, thank you. Any other discussion? All those in favor of Resolution 2021-59, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Now we have Resolution 2021-60. This is a resolution authorizing the fire department to apply for an Assistance to Firefighters grant. Alderman Petrelli. We have a motion from Alderman Petrelli and a second from Alderman Waters. Any discussion? Alderman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is a 90-10 split for a grant that would benefit our fire department, who is needing thermal imaging cameras costing approximately $152,000, and also headsets costing approximately $49,000, so say $50,000. So this is a great opportunity, and our fire department is a whiz-bang at grants, but I'd like to call Chief Bush up in case anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Chief Bush? Alderman Dixon.
So the 20, I guess we would have a portion of, the 10% would be around 20K,
Roughly,
right?
yes, ma'am.
Is that already in your current budget? Do you have that?
No,
allocated?
ma'am, we would have to come back before you guys with an ordinance. This is just getting us permission to submit for the grant. Does not mean that you're bound by anything to agree to it. If we were awarded the grant, then we would come back and ask for the money, the appropriation for the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Alderman Dixon, thank you. Alderman Robertson.
While I've got you, Chief Bush, have we heard anything about our grant for the fire employees?
We were declined on everything. The reason why we're coming back for the second group of for the second round of AFG is because they opened it up. It's the second time this year. Because of COVID, things kind of got off track. So it's an opportunity for us to reapply for an AFG. But the previous grants, the AFG and the SAFER, we were declined on both.
Alderman Robertson, thank you.
When that opens next year, obviously, we'll come back before you folks and ask permission to apply for that one as well.
Thank you, Chief. Alderman Petrelli, still have your light on. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Alderman Petrelli. Thank you, Chief Bush. All those in favor of Resolution 2021-60, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. That passes unanimously. Next, we have brief committee reports. Who can give us a general committee report?
I can.
Okay, Alderman Hayes.
Thank you, Chairman. Tonight we met. We missed Mr. Brown, praying that he gets better soon. Myself and Mr. Waters were unanimous on each of these items. The first one, an ordinance, A was 20-2153, an ordinance establishing a committee and adopting procedures and criteria for the naming of the municipal structures. We'll talk about that as a board at our first January meeting, and there was good discussion on it, and we're really appreciative to the committee that put all those ordinance together. The next one, Resolution 2021-56, we just spoke about it tonight. That's about the local governments participating in the opioid abatement. The next one, Resolution 2021-57, a resolution to approve the Mayfair Phase 2 final development. The Planning Commission just worked through that their past meeting, and we'll see that and all the details on that in our January meeting. The next one, Resolution 2021-58, we just discussed tonight, and we've already, in fact, voted on that, and that's for the Tennessee Department of Economic and Community Development and Local Government on the Advisory Committee. And then the next one we've just discussed, and that's Resolution 2021-59, and we also voted on it, and that has to do with all of the comprehensive growth plan and the planning commissions between county and our city. That's all I have.
Alderman Hayes, Chairman Hayes, thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have Public Safety, Chairman Petrelli.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank our public safety teams, the fire department, the police department, for all of their outstanding work over, I don't know how many days it's been now, but I know the folks on our peninsula and the other peninsula greatly appreciate all the long days and nights that you guys have been out there. Our community has taken some damage, but the silver lining is that no one was significantly hurt or lost, and we are a blessed city. And thank you to our Public Works team. Just outstanding job. So the only We just voted on it, Resolution 2021-60, and we just passed it. So hopefully we will be hearing pretty soon about this grant, but that's all we discussed. So thank you, Mayor.
Chairman Petrelli, thank you. Alderman Peterson, Planning Commission.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask for Director Freed to approach the podium. He can explain the outcome better than I can. Thank you.
Okay. The Planning Commission met last Tuesday, and we had several things on the agenda. And one of the first things was approved final development plan adding a use at Glen Oak Commons. This is at a place of worship and a daycare. This is kind of across from the hospital, sort of within that building of where the subway is located. I think it's Cross Point Church that's going to be locating at that facility. Also, recommended approval for Mayfair Phase 2, FDP and FDP add use of restaurant quick service. And Mayfair is just right here behind us. This is the property associated with the Bradford Berry House and that development. And that went to General Committee this evening, and it'll be before BOMA at your January meeting. Also, the Planning Commission denied a request by Twice Daily at Centerpoint Road for a rezoning. And then that actually, they were moving forward to go to BOMA General, but they have dropped their request. So there will not be a Twice Daily at Centerpoint and Caldwell, I think Caldwell Drive. So then also approved site plans for Jackson Commercial parking lot addition site plan. That's that property where the Jackson townhomes are behind it. It's right next to the senior center, sort of across from the YMCA and First Baptist Church, within that area where that house has been improved on, and they're doing a parking lot. Also approved an assisted living facility site plan at 216 Sanders Ferry Road, and also approved a site plan for Texas Roadhouse. Texas Roadhouse will be relocating from their existing position at Glenbrook, and will be locating sort of out in front of the Sam's, where the hotel is over there, kind of behind Pi 5, within that vacant property off of the interchange. So that was approved. Also approved preliminary plats for the Leland Irvin property. That was just a small 3-lot, 2 acres lot subdivision off of, can't think of the, Cage's Bend. Yeah, off of Cage's Bend. Also approved Oak Creek Estates preliminary plat. That's the plat that's in the planning region that actually is under county zoning authority, but had to go through our subdivision approval process. And that's 51 homes that'll be located on half-acre lots, sort of out in that area of Jones Lane and Stop 30 Road, all that's located within the county and within county roads. Also approved the resolutions that you've approved this evening for the dissolution of the planning region, and then the approval of the new urban growth boundaries. And that's everything that we had at the Planning Commission.
Keith, thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions for our planning director or for our planning commission member?
Thanks.
Keith, thank you. I'm sorry, Alderman Cunningham. Oh, I'm sorry. Alderman Peterson, thank you. Alderman Cunningham, Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mayor. We had our special call finance meeting tonight. We had a pretty light agenda. We had Ordinance 2021-52, an ordinance appropriating funds for professional services to assist the city with the administration of coronavirus fiscal recovery funds established under the American Rescue Plan Act. That was on our agenda tonight as well. That was recommended unanimously. Under other agenda items, we had an update on our HUD reimbursement for Cranwell Drive on the paving. We have received the check and deposited it. It was about a 50-50 split between the city and the Hendersonville Utility District, and the check was in the excess of $60,000, and that has gone back into our general fund. And we also had an update on our audit. It looks like we are about 2 weeks ahead of schedule versus last year at this time. And we had some good news about our general fund, or it looks like our ending general fund as of 6/30/21 ended up a little over $7 million. So that was really, really good news. And that is the end of my report. Mayor, thank you.
Chairman Cunningham, thank you. Chairman Skidmore, Public Works.
Yes, thank you very much. With everything that's been happening this past weekend, I'm going to try to keep this light because I do want Jesse Eckenroth to give us an update on, and I appreciate his efforts to keep us posted on what was going on with the city of Hendersonville. Like all the other aldermen, there's some that could and then some that could not. I'm not trying to cast any blame, but we were out in it trying to help our neighbors and our constituents within this madness that we had, and I do appreciate everything. So when I would get home, I would look at the computer and then I'd see Jesse giving us an update on where maybe where we weren't able. We were out in the peninsula, and then he was giving us an update on NES, and I saw the mayor tonight gave us an update tonight, and I guess the mayor's going to talk about the storm as well. But I do want to let everybody know how much, I'm just going to tell you, and then I'll leave it at that. Two things. Public Works, we've got a meeting on December 28th. Sarah, probably that's too close to Christmas, so we're going to have to cancel that one and reschedule it to the first couple of weeks of January. But then after January 1st gets through here, we'll get together and we'll reschedule that. So we can cancel that meeting in December 28th, unless we have another emergency. I'm sure our loyal Public Works Committee will be in agreement with that. But anyway, I do want to say one thing about the storm. This board has gone through several storms. We've all lived through it, thank God. We were able to make it to the other side. We've had tornadoes here. We've had high winds. We've had all these things. But one thing that we've always kept close, and I know this sounds crazy, but it's our belief in the Lord and how He always leaves the door open for us. We may look at these things that we have, and I know that I did. And I looked at all these trees down and trees on houses, and the trees that are in the front yard are just absolutely gone. And as I think Alderman Petrella said, no one was hurt. And we've been so lucky in this town. And I believe that it's our belief in the Lord and how He handles things for us when we are just, we're human. We're human beings, and we all make mistakes, and we don't know what to do when these things happen. And He opens that door, and He says, come with me and go through that, and we're going to be all right on the other side. And this is another example of that issue. And I want to thank the Public Works Department for what they did. They're always on the go. I talked to Trace Puckett about once every 2 or 3 hours with him and see where we are and where we're going. He's going, man, we're just cleaning up, and you'd see him out there. So, Sarah, tell the crew that I appreciate their work. And the police department, nice as can be and just professional as they normally are. And then, of course, our firemen, oh, my Lord. It's just like, here we go. We've been there before, so we're just going to go do it. So, Chief Bush, tell everybody out there, your department, how much that I appreciated the work as chairman of the Committee of Public Works, because there were some things that, there were some people, the elderly, that needed help. And I appreciated the churches opening their doors for our people. But here's one thing, and I'll close, Mayor, with this. There's something about this community that over over the 30 years that I've seen, and I usually kind of keep it to myself, but I think it's important in the trying times that we're having in our country and even in our city, that when we have a problem, all you've got to do is go out your door and your neighbor's there to help you. I don't know, I'm sure there's other places in this world or in this country that is like that they'll help you. But man, in Hendersonville, it's like not a problem. We'll get our saws, you know, our electric saws, and get out there and just get these trees and get this stuff up to the road. It doesn't matter. They just, you know, you don't even have to ask them. Heck, they just come out. And I appreciate that, and it makes me feel good in my heart as an alderman that when I see this, because, you know, as aldermen, we feel like maybe at times we've got to, you know, we need to get out there and help the folks. But their neighbors, they just come right out and say, hey, let's get this tree down. I saw it everywhere, you know, and I appreciate that, and it means a lot to me living here and representing the city. I don't say it as much because we're all hustling and trying to get the thing done, but I do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart when I see that. It's our community coming together when we have things like this that happen. So I want to thank Hendersonville for helping each other, and we need to continue that. And I know that we will, because that's the way that our city is. So anyway, Jesse, I just want to, you know, but if you can give us an update on what's going on, or the mayor during y'all's reports. But I do thank you all for getting the hands-on approach that the whole city took on this thing. And so thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Chairman Skidmore. Jesse, our Chief of Operations report, we're going to hear from Jesse Eckenroth.
Thank you, and I would echo your sentiments that this community is unlike a community that I've seen, where we went out to the areas that were hardest hit, and it was like everyone who had a truck and a skid steer and a chainsaw was out helping. So it was great to see. So I'll give you a little update on kind of the event. I think it was about 4:30 in the morning, Saturday morning. And Chief Bush from the fire department and Chief Miller are already starting communications. The command center went up at PD at about 6:30 that morning. So immediately, you know, Chief Bush is coordinating his crews, coordinating with county EMS. PD is out in the streets directing traffic. We lost power to signals, so they brought reserves in. They brought extras in. They controlled traffic at the signal lights intersections without power, and then several roads were closed due to debris, so they were out closing those roads. Fire was out doing assessments of the homes, so they brought their staff in. Obviously, it's the weekend, but they came out early in the morning. They started doing assessments of the homes. They actually went and got chainsaws to help our public works crews for some of the most severely affected areas, so the firemen out there helping with the public works crews. Public Works deployed their claw trucks from very early that morning. We had 4 claw trucks running around the city. Trace coordinated a commercial chipper to show up at our landfill. So we extended our hours at our landfill for this week and next from 6 in the morning to 5. And we have a commercial chipper there to keep up with all the debris that's coming in. If we didn't have it there, we just would be full at our landfill. So we're set up to continue operations out there. The mayor had coordinated with several agencies to come help. So we have the county, Goodlettsville, Millersville, Portland, Gallatin, and White House all came in with their claw trucks to help our city. And some of them are going to be here and come back. So they've been here several days and are going to continue to be here. So that's been a huge help, because we only have 4 claw trucks and there's a lot of debris out there. So those cities really in the county stepped up in a big way to help us. Even our Parks Department went out last couple days, I think, with 8 guys out to pick up some of the smaller piles that our claw trucks can't get very well. So that our way the claw trucks could just focus on the big piles so we could be efficient as we moved about the city. So Andy and Jeremy and the Parks team just went out there and said, hey, we want to assist any way we can. So, and this was coming off of them working weekends and long hours to get the hockey rink ready for the tournament. So just a great team effort from everyone at the city to get the area cleaned up as quick as possible. So now we're working with FEMA to try and get reimbursement for all the work that we're doing. So that'll be a tremendous amount of work on the department heads to put all that together. AT&T went down for a while. They got their power back up. NES, the latest report that the mayor got from NES is that we should have power back up everywhere by the end of the day tomorrow. So that's a little faster than our initial reports that we got from NES. You know, it's very hard to get that information from NES. They have a website that's up that shows where power's out, but they don't really tell you when it's going to come back on. But the latest report we have is on Wednesday. So one of the things that our building and codes department is doing is they are running after hours inspections. So if you've lost power to your home and the utility company is there to light your house up, they want a green tag from our building department. So we put it on our website, but let people know that if they call after hours, we're monitoring our voicemails after hours. And we have 2 electrical inspectors who are dedicated to going out after hours to put green tags on homes so that people can get electricity hooked up as soon as possible. So a big thank you for the building and codes department on that end. And then we're continuing to push updates on Facebook and the city website. Obviously, as the cleanup kind of settles down and power's back on, those updates will subside. But it's just been a tremendous effort from the staff. Police and fire have done an excellent job. So I want to thank them, especially Chief Bush. He's very experienced in these types of situations. So thank you, Chief. And we're going to continue to work, and hopefully we get a lot of this reimbursed through FEMA. So that concludes my report. Thank you.
Jesse, thank you for your report. Thank you for all your work. Very much appreciate it. My report you have in your packet, and you've probably gotten more of them in the past couple days than you have in several months. And I just gave something to you a little while ago about NES. Jess is exactly right about what NES has done, and they've scooted things up. Should have everybody with power tomorrow, and you just got that on your desk a little while. And then next we have the unfortunate business of the fact that I have to announce that we have a vacancy for our Ward 2 Alderman seat. We are taking applications for that. Folks can drop by City Hall and pick those up from Debbie in the front, or Erica. We have those applications. The person that we select must have lived in the current Ward 2 since November of 2000, help me out, John, 2017. So they would need to be here a year before that election, is that right?
No, they need to be here a year before their appointment.
Okay.
Just before their appointment.
Okay, so it would have been, say, December of a year ago,
Yes.
January of this year. Okay, they need to be 18 years old, and they will serve until November of 2022. That's when that term expires. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. A motion from Alderman Hayes and a second from Alderman Waters. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, please say no. We're adjourned. Thank you all. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Jason.